everyone. Uh, first, first of all, I'd like to extend my serious thanks to Dr. Ernesto and Dr. Zhang to organizing this special issue and this series of presentations. It is a great honor for me to be here and share my some research with scholars from all over the world. Before I start my talk, I'd like to share something with you. I am from China and have not had much experiences interacting internationally. The English education in China has primarily focused on reading and writing simple mm, articles. However, when it comes to listening and speaking, my skills are quite poor. In China, this is often referred to as mute English, and unfortunately, I am a typical case. So just like now, I still reading from a script that I prepared last night. This could be an interesting topic to discuss, but I won't go into it today. So if my presentation isn't perfect, I hope you will understanding. Uh, for the discussion session later, I have invited Dr. Zhang to help with translation. Thank you, Dr. Zhang, and thanks again for everyone for you to understanding. Today, I'm going to present on a topic about who cast the rental gap, an alternative narration of Shantytown renovation project in China in Nanjing, China. Uh, first, I would like to share with you two main points from this paper. The first point is that housing financialization can keep the rental gap active over a broad temporal and spatial scope, even without producing a higher and better space in the city. The second point is that shaping the housing class and implanting a middle class imagination based on the housing within the class helps achieve this goal. Regarding the first point, this paper believes it has a certain university. mm, but this conclusion is based on a lecture analysis and some exchanges with scholars from the abroad. For the second point, I would like to note that housing holds a very special place for Chinese people, which I will explain in more detail later. This point may not be universally applicable. Hmm. This research originated from a question raised by Dr. Zhu Weiyue during a conference. She asked me if my portrait of those displaced and replaced in this process of urban gentrification as victims might be somewhat simplistic. According to her observation in Shanghai area, when an urban resident is notified that their housing will be demolished, they often see it as an opportunity to improve their challenging living condition. I couldn't answer her question at that time. Moreover, on Chinese social media, the urban renewal and the shantytown renovation projects that have occurred over past few decades are typically not depicted as a case of displacement, but rather as a massive wealth creation movement. This phenomenon has given rise to a new social groups known as second generation of demolition, which might be unique to China. While I do not deny that forced demolition occur in some Chinese cities, it is indeed, but as Dr. Zhu mentioned, less common in major cities in China. This led me to think that there might be overlooked aspect behind the typical gentrification process. Uh, So how can we explain this rather unusual phenomenon? First, I think that the displaced and the resettled residents might share a common characteristic with the middle class residents of Chinese cities who are very keen on buying house. They both belong to the urban housing class. Second, the promotion of wealth creation on social media might also imply that it is not just the local governments and the developers that profit from opening and closing the rental gap. The housing class also gain benefits from this process. Therefore, to avoid simply explaining these phenomena as a unique case in China, I believe it is necessary to use the concept of housing financial license. At the same time, we need to revisit highly controversial concept of the housing classes. First, let me talk about the housing classes. This concept has been highly controversial since it was first proposed. One of the key points of the contention is whether housing determines social status or social status determines housing. Here, I don't intend to delve too deeply into the controversies surrounding the concept of housing class, mainly because I'm not an expert in social class analysis. However, from my lecture review, I have found two uncontroversial points regarding the housing class concept. First, housing can reflect a person's social status. Second, housing is a significant component of household wealth. Particularly the latter, housing is a very important component of household wealth has been one of the main reasons supporters advocate for the housing class concept since its inception. Next, let me explain the significance of the housing for Chinese people. First, Chinese people have had an obsession with housing through the history. This image depict here is the classic story of 孟母三迁 from the ancient China. Mentions renowned philosophy alongside Confucius has a mother who moved their home 3 times for sake of his education. This might be the earliest recorded case of education-led gentrification in China. Uh, Second, housing is closely related to the important interest of every urban resident. It can be said that housing is the starting point for an urban resident to live stably in a big city. This is mainly because housing is tied to the social rights that urban residents can enjoy. Although Chinese government has been tried to promote the policy of equal rights for renters and buyers, which means that the renters and homeowners should have the same social rights. This goal have not yet been achieved in practice. For example, my son is currently preparing to enter junior high school. His preferred school does not look at his academic performance first, but the property ownership certificate for the house that his mother and I own in the school district. Therefore, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, the concept of housing class might be more applicable in China. Over past decades, the rapid growth of housing price in China cities has not only widened the wealthy gap between the housing class and the non-housing classes, but caused significant differentiates within the housing class itself. This is mainly because the differences in life opportunity generated by uneven public resource are capitalized in the housing class. When economic capital can obtain a certain unique life opportunities through the housing market, a large but highly differentiated housing classes emerges in the urban landscape of China. Uh, the second concept that this study introduces in the is housing financial license. Teresa had pointed out, financialization expands the range of actors involved in extracting rents and alter expectations about the magnitude of those renters. However, to date, most studies on housing financialization has focused on identifying new actors extracting rents from regional, national, or global perspective. Our study aims to extend this objective of financialization from the physical housing to the housing class. In fact, in the earlier study of gentrification, Redfern pointed out that gentrified communities attempt to establish a place that presents a middle-class lifestyle, thereby distinguishing the middle class from those being displaced. Subsequent studies has also highlighted the importance of marketing and cultivating class-based lifestyle or constructing class imaginaries in driving urban renewal process. The housing classes fit well with the goal of housing financialization to create housing demand. Moreover, this class imagination is not limited to the gentrified communities. Carlin's research indicated that recent UK affordable housing policies aimed to enable more low-income families to obtain homes through mortgage debt. Develops and governments conveyed the version of becoming middle class to home buyers, suggesting they could circle, jog, and walking their dogs around their homes, thus better selling this debt-spotted house. Similar cases are even more popular in Chinese because, as previous mentioned, housing holds a special significance for Chinese residents in China. Although many scholars believe that the class imaginations shaped by debt through housing financialization was very fragile. Over the past many years, the rise in housing prices has far outpaced the growth in wage income. For example, in China, over the past decades, the rate of increase in housing prices has not only exceeded the wage growth but also surpassed the loan interest rates. This has led more and more urban residents speculate in the housing market through borrowing. With these two concepts in mind, let's examine the Shanty Town renovation project in our case study area. The case study area, Nanhe, is an urban village located on the edge of Nanjing's main city area in Jiangsu province. Like many urban villages, Nanhe was chaotic and home to a concentration of impoverished of very poor people, despite its very good location. Most of the original residents has already moved out, leaving behind 249 in a very poor household. By the end of 2012, when the demolition and demolition began, the average month's income of Nanhe residents was only about 1,900 yuan, which was below the minimum income standards for Nanjing. Moreover, this incomes was quite unstable. Often was earned from returning their extra housing to migrant populations. As shown in this picture, Nanhe's declining uh, uh, as shown in this picture, Nanhe uh, sorry. In 2012, Nanjing initiated a city town renovation project for the inner city and the surrounding area. To accommodate these residents displaced by the inner city town renovation, Nanjing built seven large affordable housing communities around the main city, marked in the red and dashed lines in this map. In this map. How large of those housing communities? The largest one can accommodate nearly 100,000 residents. None of the residents were relocated to one of these large affordable housing communities, Daishan. This is Daishan. By August 2013, the demolition of Nanhe was completed, and most of the residents, after receiving a certain economic compensation, moved to live in Daishan. Moved in Daishan. After the residents was moved out of Nanhe, the local government used the classical urban renewal methods such as increasing the floor area retail to argument the PGR of the Nanhe land. The land was then sold to estate companies, which which was developed to gentrified communities on the Nanhe land. Overall, the land transfer of the Nanhe city borrowed 2.12 billion yuan in fiscal revenue to the local government. After deducting the cost of demolition as well as some profit of the income to national and provincial governments, the Nanhe local governments netted nearly 2.1 billion yuan in profit. Isn't this is a classical story of gentrification achieved through the demolition? However, let me examine this story from the perspective of Nanhe's residents and the middle class residents who move into the Nanhe. First, let's look at the residents of Nanhe before the demolition, and they held Nanjing household registration and owned houses in Nanjing, but they were villagers living in the city. Their house was classified as rural housing, which means that on one hand they did not enjoy the same social rights as other urban residents, and on the other hand, and more important for them, their housing could not be sold on the market. Therefore, they missed out on the benefits of rapid rise in Nanjing's housing prices. At the beginning of the shantytown renovation in 2012, to facilitate the demolition work, the Nanjing local governments convert their land from rural collective land to state-owned land to facilitate the subsequent transfer of the land's use right. The local government then assisted their housing at about 4,800 yuan per square meter, while at the same time, the average housing price in Nanjing had already reached at about 10,000 yuan per square meters. Mm, and this price around the Nanhe was uh, as high as 28,000 yuan per square meter. The decline of Nanhe area made it difficult for them to live a decent life. The collective land ownership, ownership structure has hindered the social capital for investing to improve their living condition. Furthermore, due to the strict government's regulations on urban villaging housing renovation, Nanhe residents face a special difficulty in refurbishing and maintaining their home. As a result, most Nanhe residents has little nostalgia for their communities. Interviews with government staff revealed that they all hope to the Shanty Town renovation project. Interviews with government staff revealed that they all hoped the Shanty Town renovation project would improve their lives. During the demolition process, there was some negotiation between there was some negotiation between the residents and the government. For example, they most wanted the government to resettle them in the new communities built on the original sites. However, this was clearly unrealistic. Resettlement on the original site, Nanhe would mean that the cost for the local governments would be 3 or 4 times higher than resettlement in a different location. The negotiation between Nanhe residents and the local governments mainly revolved around the secure more in economic compensation for themselves. By 2013, the residents of Nanhe had all moved to Daishan area. According to the statistics, Nanhe residents receive an average of uh, uh, 800,000 yuan in cash compensation and two housing in Daishan. This housing or location in Daishan was mainly based on the generational structure of the families, with each generation receive about 80 square meters of housing. This arrangement improved the precious multi-generational cohabitation situation in Nanhe, allowing families of different generations to rebuild their family relationships in the independent housing units. In fact, moving to Daishan not only meant improved the living conditions for Nanhe residents, but it was also the starting point of them to become part of the housing classes. Interviews conducted after the move revealed that most residents had planned to a housing career path for themselves. They intended to sell one of their house after a few years when the housing price increased. Use the proceeds to pay for their children's new homes down payment, and thus enable their children to live a better life. Uh, the increasing in housing price indeed gives them this confidence. When they first moved to Daishan in 2013, the housing prices were around 5,000 yuan per square meters. 10 years later, the price was risen to 20 yuan, nearly four times the price a decade ago. Next, let's look at the story of the two newly built gentrified communities in Nanhe. As I mentioned earlier, the land in Nanhe was sold to real estate developers who built two gentrified communities in 2050 and 2020. The first community, Jiqingli. The first community, Jiqingli, was completed and started selling in 2050. This communities positioned as the first home for young elites in Nanjing, with an average housing area of about 19 square meters. The opening price was 32,000 yuan. The sales were the sales was very popular, requiring uh, was very popular, and only one out the first batch of 132 units attract more than 200 people and sold out within 2 hours. Because at that time, Nanjing strictly regulated the price of new home selling. Jiqingli's selling price was 32,000 yuan, while the price of second-hand housing in surrounding area was close to 34 yuan. This meant that if someone won the lottery and got the qualification to buy a house, their family assets would increase by nearly 1 million yuan. 1 million yuan. Hence, during this period of rapid housing price increase in China, a popular saying was, "If you can buy it, you have already made a profit." The second gentrified community, 花语江南, started selling in 2020. The unit housing area was larger and more luxurious. The opening price on the day of selling was 42 yuan. Which was about actual market price of surrounding house 5 years earlier, when Chunhui Liu was launched. By then, the actual market price of surrounding houses exceeded 50 yuan. This is noteworthy that when Huayujiang started selling, it attracted many residents from Jiqingli to buy. Their home buying strategy was similar to that of those residents displaced to Daishan earlier. Sell their exciting housing to pay for the down payment and buy a larger and better home. Therefore, this is the second important means by which the urban housing class in China had achieved family wealth appreciation over the past few decades, upgrading housing. Selling smaller properties to buy a larger one, or selling older homes to buy a new one. Next, let us revisit these two stories. As I mentioned earlier, the displaced residents of Nanhe and the middle classes newcomers who followed them are both part of the home housing classes. The residents of Nanhe gained a change in status by moving to Daishan and began to become part of housing class. The middle class newcomers to Nanhe, on the other hand, might already be part of housing class, or their families had the means to skip the starting point that Nanhe residents experienced to become part of the housing class. The developments in the Nanhe area attracting the purchasing incomes of residents from the earlier developments. Further illustrate the trajectory of the housing classes climbing upward in their housing careers. This image was downloaded from a real estate agent's website in Hong Kong. Depict an urban resident climbing the housing career ladder from public housing all the way up to private housing. This image greatly inspired me. In the context of housing financialization, this study suggests that climbing the upward is not only about improving living conditions, but also enhancing social status and increasing family wealth. Through this image, we can also connect the concept of housing class, housing financialization, and the classic theory of the rental gap used to explaining gentrification. On the left is a classic depiction of the rental gap theory. This process of opening and closing the rental gap is a true reflection of the shantytown renovation in Nanhe. The story of these gentrified communities after their development can be explained using the image on the right. Overall, doesn't resemble this previous image of the um housing creator. These two images so yeah, looks like the same, right? These two in the context of housing financialization, by shaping the housing class stimulating their demand for housing, we can directly push up the PGR, thereby opening new renting gaps. They use mortgage loan. Urban residents can purchase housing, closing the rental gaps again. During this process, financial institutions reaped profits, while the urban housing class also achieve family wealth appreciation. This circle can then begin anew. Inclusion, our research support Albert's viewpoint that housing financialization not only turns housing into an object of capital accumulation, but also turns homeowners into one. Homeowners through mortgage essentially transfer their future income to financial institutions. Additionally, our research identifies another way to open the rental gap. Previous studies have shown that the technical or policy measures can quickly open the rental gap. However, housing financialization can achieve this by simply creating housing demand. Now there are two questions to consider. First, can this continue? Can this continue? Clearly, it is not. The buy high, not low, makes the financial game difficult to sustain. The other question is, who else suffers the losses besides the housing class burdened by debt? Our study suggests that from the perspective of the housing classes, entire city is gentrifying. And the gentrifiers, as part of the housing classes, are displacing urban residents who cannot become part of the housing class. Mm, the how the housing the real housing needs are difficult to meet, and the non-housing classes are facing the fate of becoming being displaced. That's all. Sorry, my poor language. Sorry.